Shanks, and I wonder kind of how both of these teams are going to have a read. I feel like there's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors match going on with mid laners where you have like the Ryze, the Orianna, and the Cassiopeia all as these heavy priority mid laners, each with their own counters and things that can go wrong for them, but it just kind of sings to what a team wants to do when they pick their mid laner. And already Team WE wanting to play coordinated, wanting to play that death ball style that they did against BLG, which is why they lock in the Orianna.
Okay, so by doing this with Lucian Milio up, I think they're also trying to bait that interaction forward and deny any good Orianna ball carriers that Monki would like to grab, aka the Naafiri. And I think the Naafiri was so special for Monki to have in that first game against BLG in the first round of playoffs. This is a tough decision and a tough call for WE to make, but they decide to say, you know what? We trust that Monki's champion pool will allow them to ban the Naafiri potentially going into the second round. We want to guarantee a strong bot lane matchup.
But Vi is open, so I feel that you are opening yourself up to not only getting poked out in the laning phase, potentially by this Ashe Seraphine, who far eclipses you in the range department, but once you get out of the lane and shift about an Erha over to mid to try and get that priority, you're also opening yourself up to an breath of lifeable ultimate in the cease and desist. So I think it forces Tarzan into this pick. If they read on that and they have a counter for Monki to play, I will be interested to see, maybe potentially what that is. But as it stands, even though you get the Lucian Milio, I do think this is a pretty difficult game so far for about an Erha to play. And maybe you want to draft up some frontline for the Lucian Milio.
The Fury banned immediately by anyone's legend. Wow.
We're on fire
WE, WE now have to come up with other possible Orianna combinations, because getting Monki ahead and getting him linked up with Karis was such a pivotal factor for WE's success into BLG and constantly keeping Xun and Knight as a duo on the back foot. They're going to eliminate this Akali, since Akali, while not bringing any CC, there's not much that Lucian Milio can stop or prevent from being able to deny that assassination potential. I like the Olaf snipe as well, not just because it's good in the Baron lane, but because Monki in particular, that is a signature champion that you might not think of it as a traditional Orianna ball carrier, but just giving him command protect, shields, and the movement speed with command dissonance, those are all nice utility spells for Olaf to use to thrive even harder in those fights.
And it's a total nightmare to face if you do want to draft up some space making from the rest of WE, which I think they still desperately need. You don't have any tanks on the side of a Lucian Milio, which means that he's not going to be very well protected if an Olaf does get locked in. So I think the ban is very wise from AL. Now, though, Ryze is open, and I think we're just going to get a classic matchup here for the mid laners in game number 1. But now for WE, I mean, you need frontline, right? And maybe the ball delivery doesn't come from the jungler necessarily, Mark. Maybe it comes from the top lane. If Cube wants to bust out something that can pair well with the Orianna, that is also an option. This Jace hover, I'm not sure I like this. Doesn't fulfill the front line that we say is kind of required whenever you lock in a short range bot lane like Lucian Milio. And also, you're not going for a poke comp. So I think that this doesn't really fulfill any of the needs that we have called for so far for WE, and puts a lot of weight on Monki's shoulders here to lock something in. Do you go like Zin's out here? Like, I feel like that might be your best bet.
If you want frontline or tanks, like Skarner makes the most sense in my mind. Okay, Wukong kind of saves it, but I agree with you that the fact that there is no frontline, there's no dedicated tank for WE side, can run into issues into anyone's Legends composition. And oh boy, Flandre has been putting in so much time on this Vayne. If you go and check his solo queue accounts, and we know that this was something that has been in the works ever since the regular season, when Swayon kind of introduced the Vayne top lane meta to Bin, and specifically with that Gnar counter pick matchup. But Jace is someone that also can suffer in these marksman ranged matchups as well. But as we talked about WE not having a front line, neither does anyone's Legend. So the same concerns we have for both of these teams exists, where if you fall behind, the enemy team has more than enough gauge to force fights on you that you're going to struggle trying to slow down.
And a big concern that I have is I feel both of these comps are indexing into those double carries. You've got the 2 marksmen and then you've got the Jace pairing on the top lane, right? So for me, I think that AL have eloquent tools in order to shut down both of the Lucian and the Jace, whereas it's not really the case for the other side. I think that WE are going to have to deal with both an Ashe and a Vayne in these team fights, and they don't have the tools to focus them both. So if either of these guys get ahead, or nightmare scenario, both of them get ahead, these team fights are going to be very difficult to play out because you're going to be so split trying to deal with both marksmen, just running the map and running the fights.
One other concern I do have for anyone's Legend side is while you have damage follow-up with Ashe Arrow Encore onto any target that Vi goes for, she doesn't have necessarily divers that are going to be with her as well, but we'll see whether it affects Tarzan's ability to snowball the map or if it's not going to be a concern at all. It's time to hit Summoner's Rift for Game 1 between WE and anyone's Legend. Gavin, is it just me, or does WE have more fans in
Not
today?
just you. I was going to say WE's volume level, like the decibels are increasing along with the hype that this team has just now brought to the LPL playoffs. Upset over BLG and now against AL, the 4th seed going into the playoffs. If they can make it happen, the decibels will get higher and WE will be one step closer to potentially getting onto an international for the first time in 9 years. This team on the come up. It's super exciting to watch, Mark.
Hell, when you take down the defending LPL champions, word is definitely going to spread around like wildfire, and that is already reflected in these crowd showings. Monki starting up on the top side of the map, matching Tarzan, where he is pathing from top to bot, full clearing, but Monki is going to take a pit stop on this top side. Love the variance and trying to throw off Flandre's game. He already burned the exhaust. At most, he might have to burn a flash. Monki flash to guarantee the red buff slow and get as much damage onto Flandre's health.
Oh!
Come into the dive, and it works!
I did not think that was going to work out. I figured it was just going to be a flash burn from Flandre, but the crucial difference maker is Cube committing to the play along with his jungler. It forces Flandre to burn that summoner early, and then Monki follows it up with the E. So really good coordination there from the WE top side. Will possibly cost the Wukong his blue buff, but a small price to pay for salvation, Mark.
Ensuring Cube is set up for success in the matchup that he is getting countered by. Flandre now has no summoner spells. Cube still has a TP advantage, and the wave is frozen. Monki pulling on Erha and about to at least guarantee that he is not denied multiple camps on the bottom side of the map. And remember, Tarzan is only one camp ahead with the denial of this blue buff, but he's not necessarily pulling ahead of Monki, and Monki is still ahead of gold because of that first blood expended to take down Flandre.
But it's not really the gold that I'm worried about for the Vi, it's the experience. And so you getting that camp up and then also just having generally better timers on your camps once you go for that reset, I think is going to allow the Vi to hit 6 sooner, and then you really get on the map. So I think until that kind of happens, Monki has to make the best of this situation where Tarzan can't really be this heavy force in the early game without that cease and desist. And you can see he's already making more aggressive moves, hitting a blast cone, going over the river, taking that topside crab, and then just placing himself right back toward the top side, making sure that Flandre can't push that wave up in the matchup.
An exciting first 3 minutes has definitely quieted down. Tarzan playing a more consistent game plan, whereas Monki already introducing the variance. Means that if he wants to further continue the snowball, he has to make a repeat visit sometime soon before Flandre gets his summoner spells back up, at least that flash. A lot of aggressive trading between Kael, Hope, and About and Erha, and it ends up with the Ashe and Seraphine combo pushing Melee away, forcing him to flash away from the beat drop.
There's the range advantage we talked about. Hope and Kael making the most of that with the Ashe Seraphine combination, going to get that flash away from Erha. About still retains both his summoner spells, but now Flandre taken to about half. Monki is right back toward the top lane.
Making sure that Flandre doesn't get to play the game on this Vayne counter pick. She offers no utility whatsoever. Oh my goodness, Scorch almost is enough
10 HP
to take her out.
Yep, living on barely double-digit HP. You could see that Shanks was trying to move to do something about this play from WE, but he didn't have the ultimate at the time. You didn't have that Realm Warp, so he is just kind of jailed in his own lane. Of course, Tarzan on the bot side. Flandre is having a rough laning phase so far, down about half of the CS, and burning that flash, of course, still down, and does give Monki the opportunity to go for repeat ganks. But while this is happening, while he's putting Vayne behind, he's also inadvertently putting himself behind Mark. He's only level 4, and we can see Tarzan is level 5, getting closer and closer to that ultimate.
He's putting a lot of faith into Cube and him being able to pay that back with a stable laning phase guaranteed, since this Vayne counter pick wants to be able to punish Jace in the side lane, but hasn't had the space to be able to do so with all of Monki's attention. Dragon has been up for the past 50 seconds, and normally Vi can clear that insanely fast, but she hasn't had the opportunity to do so. Trying to make her way to level 6, is one camp away, and it's all about that fight for the bottom side crab. But Tarzan is just going to go for the dragon instead, knowing that Monki does not have enough stacks for that 1k smite advantage, and is just going to take the free objective.
That plus they saw the Wukong crossover through mid lane, so they understand that Monki's on the top side and can't really threaten this dragon. They're not going to contest this, and I think once this dragon gets started, Monki might get the green light to look for another play in top, but he's also fishing for potentially something in mid. But Shanks is hovering the bot side, so good map sense there from the Rise. They know the Wukong is top, and you can see already some hovers from AL around this bot side to look for a dive.
And with all this attention that Monki has put on top side, it allows Tarzan to equally put the same amount of pressure on Erha and About. They are forced off this laning phase. Kael and Hope can very easily just step past the turret, deny more experience, deny more gold from About's Lucian, and despite this bot lane supposed to have an easier time and an advantageous utility matchup into what the Ashe Arrow and the Encore are trying to do for you with the Breath of Life, you're not going to be able to use that if you continue falling behind in levels.
All right, so we've got the grubs up in a little less than 40 seconds. I think with the amount of pressure and confidence that WE are putting into Cube to get these plates and get a leg up over this Vayne, having those grubs to accelerate that gold lead that has been built up through over the top laners is going to be really important. But Monki, crucially, hasn't reset in a while. Meanwhile, we just saw Tarzan do that. As
About's going in! Oh, he gets dinged by the Ashe Arrow, but he is confident to step up with the calling Encore. He dashes out of it. Nicely done on the Lucian, but Erha, remember, no flash from before. One more on attack from Hope's Ashe. Takes down the Milio, and Shanks is here to make About pay for overstepping his welcome on the side lane. Shanks gets paid.
All right, good roam there from the Rise. Doesn't have to use the Realm Warp either. Will miss a little bit of experience. We'll actually pick up that cannon, so there you go.
Monki has Cyclone, pops up Tarzan with the knockup. Blue buff is secured by Tarzan. Can he make it out alive? Second cast of the Cyclone is already used, but Monki has a Nimbus strike, throws up the thumbs up. Hope it was worth the time to try and steal my camp away.
Yeah, good punish there from Monki, punishing the overstay from Tarzan. I assume that the AL jungler was probably thinking that the Wukong was on the grubs, just trying to farm for that objective. So misreads that, Monki punishes, and gets himself his second kill of the game. Still, though, has not recalled. I think he's sitting on quite a hefty sum of gold, and so this timer, this delayed back from the WE jungler is going to allow the swap, actually, from AL to come through, and they're going to get themselves priority for this neutral that we said WE really wanted to get to continue having Cube in a good game state.
And the cool thing about this lane swap, Gavin, is that this is something that you were mentioning that AL did specifically into EDG to make sure that Hope could have some resources. Flandre popping the Dark Hour, the final hour, just to get to lane. And he pops the exhaust so he can cut down a bout's damage.
Are they going in?
I don't know if he's going to survive under the tower, but Erha cannot tank the turret any longer. Flashes out of the turret range before it heated up too much, but now Karis and Monki are making their way down towards the bottom lane. I mean, poor Flandre is going to be naturally down 1,000 gold just because he cannot get any resources.
And this just makes the team fighting for Team WE that much easier, as now Cube is in a world of trouble.
Well, what they did to Flandre, Cube is about to receive from anyone's legend. 4-man dive. Shanks is the one that starts it up, and he can always walk out of the turret range. It's just pristine and super clean from the Pandas.
And I feel like we're seeing that, you know, classic AL macro come through here, because every play that Team WE have made has been responded to by a cross map. We saw the punish there from Monki to kill Tarzan on his blue buff, and then immediately AL go for the swap, get priority, dig out kind of that topside river with vision, and then they get the grubs. And then Monki goes for a dive on the bot side, looking to try and finish off that low HP Vayne. They're like, okay, he's on bot side, we're gonna go to the top side, and they get a successful dive. So even though Team WE have built up a 1k gold lead for this Jace so far, it feels like AL are out macroing them at this point, and unless WE can get something concrete for Cube in the next few minutes, you're gonna kind of be running on empty with this pick, in my opinion, as maybe that opportunity comes in about 40 seconds with this dragon.
I love how the Pandas are responding with, oh, you are making our Vayne useless? Well, we're going to make your Jace just as useless. And therefore, we're going to be at an even state. But the fact that they have picked up both the dragon and all 3 grubs gives them an inherent advantage over WE going into the mid game, as we are 20 seconds away from the second dragon spawning.
We could see that WE specifically have a little bit more presence on that bot side, but AL have priority in both lanes, so they can easily kind of clear out that vision that WE have established. But Tarzan is actually crossing over to the top side. Shanks has ultimate, and they're probably looking for something onto Q, but that ward is going to spot them out, so good coverage from WE. And yeah, now the dragon is up, Monki is in the river, and if he is there, I think they can battle back for some of this priority and try to at least challenge for this objective.
Little tricky at the moment. Hope and Kael currently have push. About is trying to fight for priority, throwing out the culling, but it's answered by an arrow from Hope. Monkey's on the flank. He's spotted by the control ward. They're trying to speed on out. Hope immediately flashing away. Monki will not pop the cyclone here. Can save it. Beat drop does slow him down, but meanwhile, Karis was caught on rotation by Shanks and Tarzan. A lot of damage down on Devi's health bar, but she's still alive, and she still has a smite coming up to see if she can flip it.
Tarzan is very low on HP. You also see Cube on that top side was waiting in the wings to maybe teleport to that play, a summoner spell that unfortunately Flandre, having not completed that quest yet, does not have access to. So with that all in mind, AL are going to give that dragon. WE finally getting neutral, and we're going to have to see if this actually ends up doing anything in the long run, as I do think this Jace is starting to run into the issue of, yes, the Vayne is ahead, or yes, the Vayne is behind, but I also am not making a ton of stuff happen on the map. We need to start getting some value out of this quote-unquote ahead Jace as we get a replay here. Yeah, Karis just picked off in rotation. Good ultimate to try and stall for time, but unfortunately no one was around. Does chunk out Tarzan enough, though, and that ultimately, I think, gives WE the win by getting the dragon.
It allows them to deny Drake stacking from anyone's legend, which is very crucial since this is a Hex Tech map. And if AL were going into the mid game with 2 dragons and 2 dragons away from Hex Tech Soul, that would have not been a good scenario for WE to try and dance around in. But first item spikes have come online for a majority of carries here. The only lane that has yet to really see that outside of the support role is top lane, and that is just because both of Cube and Flandre have not had the most heartwarming welcome from either teams in their laning phase so far.
The opposite team really hates the enemy top laner, and I think this is kind of a read we expected going into the game because we talked about how effective both of these guys were in their most recent best of 5, being able to have that cross-map pressure and being able to play with the rest of the team in a way that allowed them to get a leg up. We haven't been seeing that so far in game number 1. Now, obviously, we are still early into the match. The quests were only just recently completed, so teleport is now available for both top laners to start getting that cross-map presence that we know them for, but I do think both teams have had a relatively good read on the opposite squad's strengths thus far.
So this is going to be an interesting allocation of lane assignments. WE are sending Cube's Jace into what they assume is going to be the Rise, and having Karis answer Flandre's Vayne, who has hit that Hex Plate, Power Spike. Jace for Cube has already finished the Youmuu's Ghost Blade, is stacking up the tier as well, halfway to another item as well. But because AL's majority of their numbers are here on the top side, Rift Herald will be secured. Meanwhile, for WE, they can at least secure a tower for themselves. And if I'm not mistaken, that's actually first brick in the game.
It is first brick in the game, and we're starting to see the benefit of the Hex Gates. I think this is something that both of these junglers, who are kind of the directors for their team macro-wise, are going to make full use out of, just having the ability to cheat the timer in which you can cross over the river and cross back into the action of the map, as Hope almost gets 100 to 0'd by the culling from About, but does manage to live. And that Herald was taken by AL, but we can see just how much vision WE have on that bot side. It is allowing them to siege the mid turret and give more space over to themselves.
They should be able to pick up this tier 1 in the mid lane too. You saw that Cube was also covering the rotation from Shanks, making sure that if he tried to look for a Realm Warp collapse, he could easily just punt him away with that Hammer Form E. TP now coming in from Karis to cover this top side. I know we were praising AL's macro and their responses to WE's aggressive looks in the first 10 minutes, but I have to say, this was an impressive sequence from WE, being able to get the better end of AL on the map.
Yeah, you go to the bot side, you use the Hex Gates to get there, get vision, dive the mid tier 1, force AL away from that, and then protect your own top side tier 1. Good overall macro coming out from them, as we see... Oh, I think the last second spotted the command protect, so they know Karis is here as well.
Oh, no. Monki and Karis think they have a trap lying in wait, but it's them that are getting baited into the counter trap. They jump on the Shanks first. Monki sends it with the Cyclone.
Monki!
The shockwave on top of it as well. But here comes Hope and Kael and Tarzan to deflect the attempt, thwart the gank itself, and WE lost out on their 2 carries in Monki and Karis. And now AL, with a fantastic punish, can look for more.
He's going back in.
Tarzan, okay, sends it a little too far into WE, disrespecting the damage that Cube had on the Jace, but Hope wants revenge onto About's life. Barrier popped by both AD carries, and Hope wins out on the AD carry duel. And just like that, one crucial ward in the top lane bush allows AL to eradicate the entire gold advantage that WE had.
They get the turret, they get some gold, and now they're going to be able to reset. Hextech Dragon map also means they'll be able to get to that river a lot faster on the redeploy as we go back into a live replay. I like the play here from Team WE. They understand they have to one-shot Shanks before Kael comes in, aren't able to do it, and then the TP from Cube is just too little, it's too late. He's also just too squishy, so he actually manages to get away, but 2 end up falling. And then this just kind of felt like Tarzan... assuming his team was closer, he gets taken down. But now we're right back to live, and Dragon is up. Both of these teams really vying for that objective.
This doesn't put either team at soul point, but it is still very crucial to deny these Dragons away from the other.
Monki!
Away from the Cyclone, this time on a Shanks who did not have flash from before. WE are just fearless regardless of the circumstances of what happened from before. And AL, yes, they set up a beautiful trap last time, but this time it just didn't seem like they were expecting it at all.
You know what they say, Mark. If you at first you don't succeed, try again. Team WE, now they get the one shot onto Shanks. All of AL scatter, second Dragon belongs to them, and there's nothing on the other side of the map that they can really take. Tier 1 top lane turret has already been taken, and this bot side, frankly, belongs to Team WE. If you look at the vision line they have established, you are not getting any surprises on them over there.
I think when it comes to WE and what they demonstrated into BLG in their prior series, it was their persistence. Regardless of how behind they were, what the goal deficit was, WE still were fighting tooth and nail to find ways back into the game. Karis is going to try to flash away, but the cease and desist will connect. Monki is here, but no Cyclone available just yet. Karis has to rely on Monki just being enough of a front line to hold them in their place. He's doing everything he can just with the red buff slow, but Shanks eventually gets the distance closed and makes a 1-for-1 trade, but Kael will fall to Monki next as Erha and About make the collapse cube there as well for reinforcements, and the rest of anyone's legend, they're starting to make the same mistake that BLG made into WE.
It's saving Private Karis. Unfortunately, he goes down, but he forces all of AL to way overextend themselves, and they get a 2-for-1. Now comfortable to start up the Baron, Mark.
This would be quite the bold flip. Tarzan still alive. Can he get in and deny it? Oh, Monki is just baiting them in, looks for the flash cyclone, but Hope is able to make his getaway. Tarzan falls for it. Hope hops the barrier. Monki's still fearless as he continues the chase. You just cannot underestimate the form that WE are coming into playoffs with.
Monki is bold in this game. Health bars be damned. Situation be damned. He goes forward, Mark. They don't get the Baron, but they get some kills. They accelerate their game state, and they are ahead of the curve with AL at 20 minutes into the game. We talked about the 15-minute mark for AL, where if they aren't ahead in gold by around this 15 to 20-minute timer, they tend to fall apart. They tend to get desperate. Now, we might start seeing shades of that desperation come through.
And I have to point this out, Quax. I know both of us are junglers, and we are familiar with a lot of Wukong builds. I don't think either of us have ever seen experimental Hexplate on Wukong, but Monki knows how crucial it is to provide the initiation, to provide the CC on a team that has very limited engage options. That's going to give you it with the ultimate ability haste on top of it.
And frankly, I don't think you're forced into going Black Cleaver right away. We talk about the lack of frontline for both of these squads, so the shred that you would get from that item isn't inherently valuable in this game. Just go for the extra tankiness, make yourself more durable. You need to be the guy leading the charge. You might not be a tank, but you can at least get more health. I love that read from Monki because it is working out for Team WE in this game.
It's such an intelligent pivot, and now WE still ahead almost by 3,000 gold. This game isn't over yet for anyone's legend. They still have a lot of scaling in their stead with Flandre on this vein, who is slowly trying to come back in this game with resources. Shanks on a rise is still going to be the same terrifying threat that a 3-item rise will be once he gets there. The question is, are WE going to continue slamming their feet on the acceleration pedal like they have all game long so far?
That definitely is the question. I mean, the scaling from the rise is something to worry about, but I do have to comment again at just how far behind Flandre has been put in this game. Even though the gold lead has shrunk a little bit between Cube and Flandre, it was at 2,000, now it's a little less than 1K. It's still difficult for Vayne to find angles in this game. Kind of the courtesy that we extended toward the Lucian, where we said a short-range marksman into a comp like this is going to be difficult to play. I think you can say that exact same thing about the Vayne. Him going in here against a comp that has Monki, has Erha, has all of this disengage from Team WE, can be very, very rough if you aren't ahead, and right now he definitely isn't. So we're gonna have to see kind of how he positions himself. He's got flash, he's got the exhaust, he's also got the teleport, so all of the tools are there for him going into this fight. I'm really looking at him to see if he can be that second marksman, if he can be that extra threat that AL need in order to turn this game around.
And while AL have been caught by surprise from WE a few times, Vision has been their best friend in being able to turn the tides.
Monkey
Immediately,
man.
Monki sees Tarzan going forward with the fall breaker. Cease and desist as an angle. Cyclone double catch.
Got Tarzan.
Tarzan is gone. Kael dropping insanely low, but Hope is able to kite it out with Shanks.
Flandre's alone.
Four-man squad eliminate Flandre from the pack, and now Shanks will not get a chance to pop the railroad, but he does. There is no knockback from Cuban. Shanks doing everything he can to save this game one for anyone's legend, but Hope is not going to be able to survive as about slings on in with the Lucian, and Shanks, the last man standing, runs for the hills. WE climb this gold lead to 4,000.
And I mean, Erha is just trying to one-up Monki in boldness. Goes for a flank as the Melio into 2 damage dealers of AL and manages to make it work. But you cannot one-up the master. Monki yet again goes in. No fear. His team is behind him. And he one-shots Tarzan along with the rest of his squad. Even though he gets taken down here, look at how low he puts Hope and Kael in that fight. They completely are isolated. Flandre's left alone. We highlighted the positioning for Vayne that was needed going into this fight, but he was totally by himself. He wasn't allowed to position with the rest of his team because his team was out by the time he went in.
Quick moves from Erha, trying to go for a Q flash just to keep Shanks in range of about being able to collapse as fast as he could. But Shanks has so far been the most consistent player for AL this game, and potentially the last hope for AL so far in how this game has pivoted. Everyone else on WE has started to eclipse their opponents, their respective matchups in the gold department. But as we highlighted before, Shanks on a rise can always turn the tides here with the damage that he is able to pump out.
He is prioritizing Zhonya's, it looks like. Unless he's sitting on the arm guard, which I wouldn't be fully against, he is going to potentially delay his actualizer spike for survivability. I'm wondering if that is the correct call. Maybe he's just sitting on the arm guard, as now Karis is in a load of trouble.
It's a good pickup attempt from AL. Just go for the isolated Karis on the bottom
They're on
side.
Baron.
But that gives an opportunity for WE to just rip the Baron here on the top. Can AL do anything about it? I don't think so. They are now slowly making the moves over there. They should have known this was at least a possibility. Erha comes in. The clone blocks it. Monki secures the Baron. And WE are out of there.
Breath of Life completely exfiltrates WE from the fight, and it is definitely a worth it death there from Karis. As Baus would say, it is a good death. And overall, 4 members escape wearing purple. AL will get the mid lane tier 1, so might help them in the future setups around this dragon. But now the amount of gold Team WE can get on the map with this Baron, I think might overshadow that full force, because there are a bunch of tier 2 inner turrets standing and a lot of standing gold available for WE to take in the next 2.5 minutes while they have this Baron.
And it comes down to how much AL are willing to give that doesn't immediately lose them the game. Because once again, gold lead is not that far ahead for WE. 3,000 seems like a lot, but we're only 27 minutes in. AL have the opportunity to make a comeback, and it just comes down to the right fight for themselves. But WE going to use this opportunity, knock out the tier 2 in the mid lane, now making their way down towards the bottom side to do the same in the bot lane.
All right, AL are trying to clear out these waves. You can see that they're kind of hovering around this bot tier 2. Shanks has to be very careful. Again, does have that arm guard, so can delay any potential dives for a bit. Maybe AL try to find an angle off of that to bait WE, but frankly, this turret is so low now that they can probably just finish it and then turn onto AL. That is a very real possibility, as about looking for another culling onto Hope gets him to a little bit less than half, and just the siege power of this Baron, AL can't respond to it. They don't have appropriate enough wave clear.
Thank you, replay observers. Hope had used his arrow, was trying to fish for something in the mid lane, and it was a complete whiff, which gives the opportunity for About to safely just go for a quick chunk in the mid lane. Inhibitor is already gone in mid. Flandre forced to step back from the pressure of WE. 5,000 gold ahead now for WE, but they have a lot of unspent gold. So anyone's legend just need to stay calm and allow WE to take as much as they can without giving over the game entirely. About steps up, starts to damage the Nexus turrets. Sees some
going in
right onto the target of Monki. Cyclone at least deflects
Monkey's
it for
full
a while.
HP.
Already used. Shanks goes golden with the Seeker's arm guard, but he's the first one to fall. Can anyone from any legend step up and defeat them? Cube finally gets deleted by Hope, and he has to step up and defend AL's base from defeat. WE now on the retreat, and Karis will be caught out alive. Flashes away from the Vault Breaker, but the double beat drop connects. About steps back up, but the Hope Bash Arrow comes back off cooldown. Monkey's gonna trade Flandre for his life.
Monkey!
Monki! Peak Prime form has returned! A glimpse of Split 2 playoffs from last year is finally here, and WE are ready to go the distance, leading the series 1-0.
Monki is elated on the player cams. He is unleashed in the game from benched to benching all of the weight of his team in the last team fight. AL fall, and WE lead the series 1-0 mark in convincing fashion, if I do say so myself. Wow.
What an eclectic way to end the game. I didn't think it would just end like that. There was multiple times where I thought to myself, okay, WE can just back off. They got their damage done. They lost a member here. It's time to walk away. And Monki just bites down and says, nah, I'm better. Let's finish this game right here, right now. And trusting in himself, this confidence, this braggadocio from Monki is something that we were really excited about when he first started coming into his form for WE last year. And already, Quax, I am starting to get very, very similar flashbacks of that magical run that WE made. And mind you, that was in the lower bracket. They are starting in the upper bracket this time around with this run. Now, let's take a step back. It's just the first game. We won't be first game Andes, but it's an impressive showing.
No. We're getting hyped. We are getting hyped. Okay, listen. The series against BLG it moved the world. It was a crazy upset, and we need to get excited for the idea that a 1-13 team not only just beat the first seed, but now is one up over AL, a team definitely no one should be scoffing at, and they did it. Mark, our biggest question was, is this just lightning in a bottle for Team WE, where they beat out BLG and that's it? That just it upsets the bracket, but not much else is going to come from them? Or is this a consistent new peak form that we have found this team in? And from a game like that, I think you can safely assume it is the latter, and that deserves the hype that we should be giving it.
You know what?
What a turnaround.
I'm sold.
Yes!
I'm sold. I really do want to see this WE make the distance with this kind of momentum. Now, looking back at what anyone's legend did well before things started collapsing, I think is what they're going to be trying to draw upon for inspiration going into game 2. And that is some of the more intelligent macro cross-map decisions that they were making early on when they recognized, okay, WE are dropping resources to dive our top Vayne. Okay, they're dropping resources to go for this bot lane play. Let's make sure that we're on the cross map. Let's make sure that we are always trading up. And then the signature thing for anyone's legend, which, as you called out, classic AL from the days of 2025, is then waiting for the proper objective fight when everyone spikes up from the gold that they got on the cross map to then take a proper fight. But I don't know if we really got a proper fight with this composition.
Not
with
really.
All 5.
No, we really didn't. And I think a large part of that was due to them playing around a double marksman comp, and one of the marksmen was basically just shut down right from the get-go. I mean, Flandre died really early on. It made it very difficult for the Vayne to have really any kind of usefulness in the game. And so I just feel AL's draft was immediately kind of taken down a peg right from the get-go. So really intelligent read there from Team WE. I do, however, agree with you on the upsides of AL's gameplay for game number 1. I felt like some of the sequences in the cross-map plays were really nice. You know, WE would make a proactive play on one side, AL would respond by Tarzan going for an invade or going for an objective or trying to reciprocate a dive on the other part of the map that he knew WE weren't overloading on, like this. And I think that those early sequences worked, but some of them also just kind of went awry. Like we saw multiple attempts to look for a dive that because you didn't have a wave or you didn't have setup or you didn't know where a certain member was, they weren't able to execute on. So I just feel like WE were faster. When it came to making plays expediently, like snap engages, they beat them out every single time. And I think that AL just weren't quick enough on the trigger finger to try and match them in that regard.